Hello and welcome back to the Checkpoint Reach podcast. This is a gaming and occasional movie news podcast. I'm your host Luke Eldon, and as ever, I'm joined by my fellow gamers and friends, Perk, Sud and Matty. How you doing, guys?
Yeah, good. Very good. Should be an exciting week of news and stuff, so looking forward to getting it started.
Yeah, looking forward to discussing the topics we got today. How about you guys, the other two? How are you doing?
Excited as ever.
Oh, thanks for the optimistic
Optimistic
approach.
as ever from Perks.
Yeah. How about you, Matty?
Consistency, guys.
Are you
I'm
as...
back, mate. I'm
Yeah.
back from a hiatus in
No,
Japan.
yeah.
I was
2-week
traveling in
hiatus.
Japan on a unicycle.
At corpse.
Yeah, we should mention, actually, it's a full house this week.
Yeah.
Matty is back. No more
Back from the
octopuses.
Well, I was just drawing an octopus on the train, on the bullet train in Japan because I was bored.
Well,
You wish you were in Japan.
an exciting journey you must have had that week. If you're listening to us on YouTube, give us a like, give us a share, give us a subscribe, because that'll help the channel to grow. We'll get started with the first topic of the day, and that's that the Anthem early in progress reviews are out, and it's not looking very positive. We've taken just two here to have a quick look at. One from GameSpot. They go on to say, after several hours with Anthem, I can't say I'm particularly interested in it yet. I've completed some missions, upgraded my loadout, and gone on some more missions, but I'm not yet invested in anything I'm doing. There's just nothing here so far that's driving me forward. I'm curious, but only to see if my first impression that this is somewhat a generic Destiny-like experience will be proven wrong. And they also say Anthem starts just like Destiny 2. Yeah, so we know one guy who's sitting in this chat pretty pleased with himself because he was right.
Hashtag Perks was right.
Yeah. It's not even I hate to say I told you so. It's just I told you so.
Well, what's the point? What I don't understand, right, is why aren't GameSpot, issuing an apology now? We should have just stuck to our guns in the first place, I think, and just it was a Destiny clone. And yes, it was a quick sort of brushed over statement about the game, but because GameSpot say it and flesh it out a bit, that's fine. Well, it is a Destiny clone.
Well,
Isn't that?
Well,
there's more.
Well, I'm not going to. Well,
there
I'm
is
not going to
more.
be playing the game, so EA can just piss off.
Well, before EA piss off, I will go on to the next review I wanted to quickly read out, and that's from PC Gamer. Their review in progress, and they say that combat and exploration are fun, but nothing else is. BioWare's latest is a loot shooter bogged down by a forgettable story and repetitive missions. The fun stops the moment the battle wraps up, and I'm forced to deal with all the tedium and frustrations of Anthem's other activities. Anthem is a bog-standard multiplayer loot shooter like Destiny 2 or Warframe. There's another Destiny reference, Perks.
it's funny because you can literally just substitute what he said for the Destiny 2 reviews. Like most of the Destiny 2 reviews a lot of the time. Like maybe slightly more positive than what they said about Anthem, but a lot of the same stuff, isn't it? And it's just quite funny really how well, we at least on this podcast got a little bit of flack, didn't we, for comparing it to Destiny, and it seems like most of these people are heavily comparing it to Destiny.
Yeah,
In
it'll
that
be
sense.
interesting to see if this imaginary Anthem fanboy brigade come out of the woodwork and try and defend the game anymore, or if they just finally accept that it is a Destiny clone.
Well, the one thing I
We'll
don't
see.
get is it was always going to be similar to Destiny, so I don't know why we got so much stick from Perks' opinion on it. Especially now Perks has been proven right by a lot of the early impressions and first reviews we've seen.
It's important to know that obviously, well, Matt's obviously not getting the game, as it was pretty plain to hear from just there, but us three will be getting the game, so we will obviously give our impressions on next week's podcast, it's fair to say. So, obviously these are early impressions. We haven't, you two have played the demo, but none of us have played the final version, so that is important to note that these are just other people's opinions at the moment. We don't really have too much to say right now, but it's not looking great, is it? I mean, you're expecting positive things. You're expecting positive things about the story, considering BioWare themselves bigged up the story as if it was going to be this, grandioso story experience not seen in a shooter like this before. So That's a little bit disappointing to hear that it's just a bland, well, seems to be a bland, generic story that you could copy and paste for any of these type of games.
It's pretty worrying.
The good thing, I suppose, one positive thing is the combat and exploration. They've both said are good, so that's one positive note.
That's one thing I really liked about the demo as well, to be fair.
So, but it seems like the events, the activities maybe are lacking. But, as we've seen before, that's usually the case with these type of games when they first launch. So we'll have to see how it develops as time goes on. But I'm still looking forward to trying it out and seeing what it's like on Friday. And I'm sure we're all still looking forward to seeing what it's like. So.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what it's like. I'm a bit worried now, but I know, Perks, you've also watched quite a lot of gameplay from YouTube videos and stuff that people have been live streaming. What are your thoughts on it that you've seen so far?
I can't lie, I'm a lot less optimistic about the game than I was in the first place, and maybe that was some blind optimism. Maybe I wanted it to be so much better than I ever knew it was really going to be deep down, but I kind of echo what the guys have said already. It's not had a good introduction based on what we've seen, and look, Sud already mentioned that this is not our opinion. We haven't got the hands on yet, but we're talking about major review sites here. We're talking about a lot of big YouTubers who have been sort of privy to the game so far, and it's kind of got a sour taste before you've even tried it, and that is a bit damning, really.
It is. And didn't you read something just before coming on the podcast?
Yeah, actually, when we were putting things together not so long ago, it was about half an hour ago now, maybe 45 minutes. There was a story breaking that there's a bug in the quick play option for the game, which is dropping players into missions they haven't even completed yet, and that includes the final mission of the game. And that's unacceptable.
Yeah, you do wonder as well, don't you? That's just what's been found, and is there going to be more bugs when more people get their hands on the game when it comes out that are going to expose themselves? But you would hope, though, that the only good thing about them finding that bug early is you'd hope it's patched pretty quickly. I'd expect a patch in the next day or two for that, to be honest, because that's that's not just a little bug, is it?
I'm not even letting them away with that. I'm not.
No,
I can't even begin to defend that. This isn't early access. This isn't a beta or an alpha or a demo. This is the real game. You can't launch a game like this. You can't launch any game with a bug like that in it. It's not acceptable to go, oh, it's a bug, but the full release isn't quite out yet, so it will have a day one patch. There's too much emphasis going to be placed on that, isn't there? Oh, that will be in a day one patch. Day one is gone.
Yeah.
The day one for the majority of players isn't gone, but they've dropped this game already. It's in its final form. This is what they've released, and to have a bug like that so soon it's just terrible.
And they've been having a lot of issues with the loading screens as well, haven't they?
Well, one of the things that I've listened to and seen quite a lot of when I've been diving deeper in the last couple of days is that everyone's got this opinion, is that the loading screens are far too often, they're far too plentiful, and they're actually intrusive to the experience as well.
Mm-hmm.
Now, all of those people can't be wrong about that. And I know we haven't got our own experience just yet, but if everybody's saying the same thing, it's very unlikely that we're going to think otherwise, especially given we will be critiquing this game quite harshly, given the genre that it falls into. So, I mean, how in 2019 is a game like this going to have such intrusive loading screens that take forever as well, and that pop up out of nowhere, allegedly, in the middle of activities that you wouldn't expect them to appear in? It just seems really bad, and really the only good thing that we've seen so far from a general consensus perspective has been, oh, but the combat's fun, which, funnily enough, is what people said about Destiny too. Everything else sucks, but the combat's really strong, so yeah.
Yeah, I would say, though, I don't remember this. I remember, obviously, with the original Destiny, people had played the beta, and if I remember rightly, a lot of people liked the beta when they played the original Destiny. And it was when the game launched, people had a few problems, but even with Destiny 2, yeah, there was some detractors, but I don't remember there being this many issues this close to launch. Yeah, there was a few people saying, oh, it's just like Destiny 1, the same, blah, blah, but I don't remember people pointing out major bug glitches or, saying... I feel like this has had a lot more flack, which is worrying, to be honest, this close to launch. Because obviously, as we know, the one thing that Destiny has going for it, it has first-class gameplay, that's for sure. And it seems like Anthem is going to have good gameplay, but is it going to be good enough? Is it going to be good enough to, eradicate all the other problems or make people forget about all the other problems that it's probably going to have? That's the issue.
I mean, we can say from our own experience, like we know the gameplay is good, even though it was a bit of a broken experience in the demo that me and Luke in particular played. We know the combat's fun. We know that seeing explosions going off left, right, and center and chaining combos and abilities, we know all that stuff is good. It was always going to be. So, credit for them doing something that was inevitably going to be good anyway. But with the bugs we've mentioned already, I mean, that's not all we've seen, right? There's been reports of preferences in the options menu not being saved, which is with another bug. Rewards sort of glitching out at the end of any missions, not just easy, normal, or hard. And then it forces you to replay them and grab loot all over again. Sometimes progress isn't even recognized. That's another glitch that I've been reading about, and you just think, how can you mess this up so badly?
See, I do think some of these issues will be fixed by the time Friday comes along, but they're not all going to be fixed because it's very rare they fix every bug that they find when there's this many.
It's
so
impossible.
That's the
you
worrying
cannot
thing.
put out
that's
that many fires at once on a day one patch.
They're going to have to just, I suppose, I would imagine they're going to have to just prioritize the worst of them first, because that's that's going to be the main issue for them.
It feels like deja vu discussing these MMOs on this podcast. Just this common theme of them being broken on day one and people just sitting there and going, oh, well, it'll be fixed in 6 months' time. Yeah, but I don't care. I paid £40 for it today. I want it to work. I'm so bored of hearing the same lame excuses. And I think this one's getting more flack in particular just because it's EA. I mean, we all know EA have got like the worst rep in the whole gaming industry, really. It says it all. I was reading an article actually the other day, Apex Legends. They actually refused. The reason that it was sort of a stealth release is because the game had loot boxes in it. And one of the developers at Respawn said, a free-to-play game with loot boxes, if you just take that sentence out of context, people are already going to have a negative opinion of the game. So they just stealth released it. That's how bad it's got for EA now. Developers are literally trying to make sure that the EA name has nothing to do with the game. It pretty much sums up really how pathetic a publisher they really are.
Seems like it was a good decision, wasn't it, by Respawn, though?
It was. And that's the thing, people are playing it and they're like, oh, this is an EA game, but it's kind of good, so, oh well.
I think it's a good segue, actually, onto the sort of microtransactions we see in Anthem. I mean, we've had a lot of speculation, not just ourselves, but everybody else in the community since that leaked image a while back, that we were going to be looking at near $20 prices for the epic skins. And now that the game's actually launched, we're looking around about $8.50, I think the conversion works out at. So we can celebrate a minor victory in that sense if you care about the cosmetic microtransactions and such, but...
That was definitely a feeler, that Reddit thing. That was definitely a feeler. To judge the reaction, oh, wait, we probably won't get away with that. Oh, well, look, it's come out. It's only $8.50 or whatever they round it up to. And then, they're celebrated for it. But
I actually think the response that they've had is that they're not actually being celebrated for it. They're just being, well, yeah, you're damn right you've lowered it because what you kind of put out as a feeler was unacceptable. So I guess you could say it's a victory, but a very minor one at that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm just typing at the conversion rates here on my PC. I'll be paying $0 for Anthem and $0 for any microtransactions because I'll never play the game. So that's a good bargain. You
were sitting on the fence at one point, though, a couple of months ago. What's pushed you over one side?
Like I said, it feels like deja vu. I feel like this is going to be another game that completely crumbles after a couple of weeks when people get bored of it. and numerous bugs get, found in the game. I feel bad for BioWare because I feel like it's going to be the end. Like, we've already discussed this on numerous occasions, how, EA needs Anthem to succeed and BioWare needs it to succeed even more. But I do feel like this is going to be the straw that broke the camel's back, to be honest, and EA might just pull the plug on BioWare, which would probably be a good thing, to be honest, because I imagine another publisher would probably buy them.
Well, you'd hope so, considering they've announced a new Dragon Age in the works. There'd be a lot of annoyed fans, I think, of that franchise.
I don't know if BioWare themselves own that IP or EA own it. I imagine EA own the IPs.
That's a bit of a worry, actually, isn't it? Really.
Yeah. But that would mean
that's the thing. So this is what I'm trying to say. Getting rid of BioWare, depending on whether EA actually own the licenses, wouldn't necessarily mean that there's not another Dragon Age game going to come out or not another Mass Effect game coming out. It's just they'd move it to one of their in-house studios.
Yeah, that would. I don't see the point then, because the whole BioWare created it, just like they created Mass Effect. It's like, okay, they might not be what they once were back in the day, but I'd still like to think that BioWare could do the best job at creating a good Dragon Age game rather than someone else. So that they're going to palm it off to. So that's a bit of a worry if that does happen. But just going back to Anthem for a sec. You were saying about the microtransactions and that. I mean, how do you think that's going to play out when it launches? Do you think we're going to hear horror stories of people spending tons on the game and then getting nothing, or?
Well, you're buying specifically what you want on Anthem, so no is the answer to that question in short. But look, people are always going to buy cosmetic things. We know it's the biggest trend in this day and age, so I'm sure the store will do really well with the shards.
Yeah,
but I look at that separate to the game. If they do well financially through succeeding with a microtransaction aspect, I don't really care. I'm all about what the game actually is and what you can experience through gameplay. So,
don't you think? Just one point as well. Do you not think it's very strange? With EA that they've released Apex Legends 2 weeks before this game. I don't know. It's a very strange move when you think about it. Obviously, it's worked for Apex. It's worked for Respawn. But I think is it going to work for EA long term? Because are they not just kind of cannibalizing Anthem's potential with releasing Apex Legends? Because it's become so big now, Apex, and it seems after 2 weeks it's going to stay fairly big for the foreseeable future. I mean, I
don't think Anthem was ever going to compete with a free-to-play game, to be honest. So it doesn't really make a difference. I think free-to-play in general is the future for a lot of these games. If you're gonna do microtransactions and loot boxes and stuff, people don't mind it as much if the game's free-to-play. And we've obviously seen, how many times this game gets called out in the podcast, but we've obviously seen Fortnite, and how much that's made of microtransactions. And I imagine Apex Legends, once they start putting, a load more new legends in the game and, a load more weapon skins and stuff like that, it has the potential again to make an absolute killing off microtransactions. So, yeah,
I agree with you. I just think in terms of, does it send a message that EA maybe they're not that bothered about Anthem in terms of maybe it's not the be all and end all for them that we thought it might have been, in terms of, because they've also in March got Battlefield 5's Battle Royale mode coming out, and it's a bit overkill, really, isn't it? It's like they've got Apex, they've got Anthem, a different type of game, but still,
To be honest, like you said, like you touched on,
very strange.
They might not be relying on Anthem as much now due to the success of Apex Legends.
So you think it may have been So maybe, are we saying that maybe they saw the writing on the wall early on and thought, well, maybe if we release this Apex Legends, it could take some of the strain off Anthem, or...
It's hard, really, to...
It's hard to judge.
Yeah, to know.
I find it strange because, as well, ironically, what's funny is that Apex Legends could actually harm... I'm thinking further ahead to Battlefield 5's Battle Royale mode in March, because are people going to be asked about that at all now? Really?
People
Apex
asked
Legends?
anyway.
Well, exactly. But I mean, without Apex Legends, there might have been more of a buzz, like, oh, Battlefield's getting its Battle Royale mode, I'll try it out. But ironically, what's funny is that it seems like it's reversed in terms of, how DICE, the Battlefield DICE game, a couple of years ago destroyed Titanfall 2. It might actually be Respawn's Apex game that might harm DICE's Battlefield. It's quite an interesting little twist.
This is a new dilemma. This is a new dilemma for publishers, especially with Battle Royale. When you see the success of the free-to-play games, I don't think, and this is, more relevant to you guys because you play this game a lot and enjoy this game a lot with Black Ops 4 and the Blackout mode. I don't think that these type of battle royales where you have to pay £40 to get the game are ever going to be able to compete with the free-to-play games. And I think Blackout would have done so much better if it was free-to-play, and it would have been so much better received if it was in the hands of more players. And I think the same goes for Battlefield 5. If they do make a battle royale, mode in Battlefield 5, they should just make it free-to-play, because no one's going to play it. No one's going to go to the shop and pay 50 quid for Battlefield 5 so they can play Battle Royale. It's not going to happen. But, if someone says to you, oh, it's free, we'll all try it out. So it's one of them things. It's really hard. It's really difficult for publishers because we are moving into a new type of distribution, I suppose, especially for Battle Royale. Fortnite set the precedent that, these type of games should be free. So it's kind of a weird one.
Yeah, I was just going to actually just say that you touched on it at the end. It feels like with Fortnite, obviously creating Battle Royale, their Battle Royale mode, for free, and then Apex Legends doing the same, and both being mega successes. It feels like a lot of other companies are going to have to follow that blueprint if they want to replicate that sort of success.
Yeah, because you've got this massive player base that's playing Apex and Fortnite. If you say to them, here's another free-to-play game, they're going to try it out, like I said. But if you say to them, here's a Battle Royale mode, but you have to pay 50 quid for it, don't forget, a lot of this target audience is kids, that can't afford to spend 40, 50 quid a pop at a game unless it's Christmas or a birthday or whatever. So it's one of them things where that's already such a massive barrier for entry for a lot of the players that they're just not going to bother.
Yeah. And one point I was going to make when you were talking about Blackout as well, I'd be interested to see with the next Call of Duty what they do, because we're probably not too far out from. It's usually around this time they reveal the next Call of Duty, isn't it? Early in the year. So it'd be interesting to see how they play it. Will they do what Matt said? Will they maybe make the Blackout mode for the next Call of Duty free, and the main game you have to pay for? Be interesting to see.
Well, I think just on that one, before we progress, I think Black Ops 4 in particular was a strange one for them, right? Because it's the first time there's been a Call of Duty game without a campaign. Mm-hmm. So from their point of view, maybe they thought, look, we only have a multiplayer zombies and Battle Royale game mode. We're putting it all together because we're not offering that much anyway. So, and I know there's the sort of looking at it on the other sort of side of the coin saying we'll release the paid zombies and multiplayer, and as a sort of make it up to you guys for having such a crap offering, have Blackout for free. I think they probably panicked a little bit with that and just bundled it all together and thought, here you go, people will sort of roll with the Call of Duty franchise anyway, so the name will get you money regardless. I think we saw, it might have been yesterday or the day before, there was some leaks about the next Call of Duty game that is going to have a returning campaign, or so we think.
Yeah.
So that wouldn't surprise me. I could definitely see a full price Call of Duty release with a campaign, with a zombies or type experience, with the multiplayer they've always had, and then a Battle Royale separate for free, because that is what works.
It's the market trend at the moment.
It's definitely the way it's going.
Yeah,
I think the last note on that I would say is, if you are going to release a fully fledged paid Battle Royale game, what are you actually going to bring to that as part of the value that you don't get for free?
That's a good question.
That would be the be-all and end-all for me. What are you paying for? What are they giving you that you don't already have?
Yeah, that'll always be the problem, because Fortnite and Apex Legends, it seems like Apex is just going to carry on. They're going to be such juggernauts that if that's free and you're going to be like, well, why would I pay for one when I've got this free one that's I find more enjoyable? What are you offering me that's different?
Just one quick point I'd like to make, though, about Apex. We all got it free, and none of us have spent a single penny on it. But to be honest, if I knew the game was going to be like as good as it was, I would have paid money for the game. Like straight up, like maybe 20 quid or something, if I knew the game was going to be good. So it's an interesting one.
I don't know if I would have.
Really? Even what you knew, if you knew how it was going to be?
Yeah, because I don't enjoy it as much as you.
Fair enough. I personally think it's a good enough game to charge money for. I'm not saying that's the way they're going to do it, or it's the right thing. I just think they could have charged money for it, and I think it's still, and I think it's fair enough. Personally, I would have paid money for it.
I take your point. It's like the value for money thing.
Yeah,
like how
I think
many
the value
times
for
have
money
we
is really
said
good in the
the
game.
Witcher you'd have paid £100 for 100%, and you wouldn't even blink an eye. So I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm not saying I would have paid £40 for the game, but I would have paid maybe £15-20 for the game. That's my point, I think.
Yeah. Well, it would definitely be interesting to see how how companies tackle this problem going forward. Well, it's not really a problem; it's just a dilemma on their part whether to charge for it or not. I just want to take it back to Anthem quickly, and they also did some Q&As the other day and replied not at launch to a lot of questions. Is this another worry for the game that's coming out?
Yeah, I mean, I'll definitely start on this one. I think I sent you the sort of thing we were talking about there, and I said, look, bring your attention to this. This isn't good. It seemed to me like their development, and I've said this before when we talked about the comparisons between this and Destiny and blah blah blah. They've got so many examples from what's happened in the past. They know what's good, what's bad. They know what people have wanted for ages. And when they did this, I think it was called Ask Me Almost Anything About Anthem. They tagged it as something like that. 75% of it was not at launch as a response from the developers. And the funny thing is that people weren't even asking for extravagant things. They were like stupid questions like, hey, when I go down, I can't switch to watch my teammates play if they're going to come and revive me or not. Can I have a camera for that? Like, that's on every other game like this, not at launch. Why? Like,
was one
crazy.
of the questions, is the game good?
Probably.
Not at launch.
Not at launch. But yeah, there was just so many sort of generic, yeah, sure, that'll be in the game, questions asked. And for them to say not at launch, it just made me think, I think I said to you, they seem to lack an intuition with what they're actually doing here. And it was almost like
it's a cop-out answer as well.
Yeah, and it almost felt like they were trying to get... I'm not saying it's wrong to take inspiration from communities and get ideas from other people, because that's fine, that can help shape any game, but it looked like they were trying to shape this whole game based on, we don't really have all that much, it's soon going to come to light that we don't, what do you want to see? And we'll say not at launch so that we can hopefully bring it to you in the future. And that was just my interpretation of it. Other people may see it differently if they followed it closely like I did.
Well, so you're implying, well, not implying, but from your opinion, it's as if like they're sat there and someone's gone, do you get a camera when you die to watch your teammates, and they're just going, oh yeah, that's a good one, jot that down. Not at launch. Yeah, we'll get that in.
Basically, but they, if people were providing great ideas and they were thinking, crap, how didn't we think of that? Fine, but we were talking about base level crap here, and it was just like, seriously, guys, this doesn't make sense.
To be fair though, I would say that Q&A and things like that, with the question, that is actually where publishers do get some ideas from. So if someone does come up with a good idea, like that is not that can be a common thing sometimes where
I'm not disagreeing with
someone
that.
on a message board can come
but
up
not
with
on the basic level.
And I'm not saying obviously there's things in there that they've said where you think, well, why on earth is that not a launch? But what I'm saying is sometimes good things can come from these sessions where they ask questions.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Good things will come of this because they've basically been revealed to them how much they actually need some of these basic things. And you just think, how have they managed to release this? I know Anthem's been in development now for so many years, it's unreal. How have they managed to bring this to the table with so much seemingly missing that's already in previous games? Just, I don't know. It's another thing that I'm a little bit, exactly that, baffled by. But I guess until I get my own hands on the game, I'm not willing to crucify it too much. But again, hey, warning signs are there, and now there's just a lot more of them.
So I'm guessing then we all agree that we're now worried officially about the game and BioWare's potential future, if this is anything to go off.
Definitely concerned, yeah. I'm not into full panic mode yet, but I've definitely got concerns.
Mm-hmm.
I would be very surprised if this game lasts all that long. And it's painful to say that, but it's there for us to see.
The good thing is we won't have to wait too long to find out, will we? The game's out in 4 days' time, so we'll and hopefully on next week's podcast we'll all have a better idea and we'll be able to tell the listeners more. So
Yeah.
that's something to look forward
Watch
to.
this space.
Watch this space. Let's before we quickly move on, then, should we have a little game? Where do we think? Well, what score do we think this game will get on Metacritic? I'm going 74.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe like low 80s before all this impression stuff came out, but after all this, I'm thinking I'm going to go 68. I actually think it could be that low, to be honest.
68.
I'm going to round it up and go 70. Hold on.
I'm going 69. Got it.
Oh, there we go then. So.
Oh, there you go.
Standard.
So we'll also be watching that space to see how that does. However, moving on to another game that two of the guys on this show guessed the Metacritic scores for is Crackdown 3. That came out recently, and a review on IGN had this to say. This is a little bit we took away from it. Crackdown 3's mediocre, collectible-heavy campaign and poor multiplayer are rarely satisfying busy work. This game also hasn't been received that well. I just want to get your guys' opinions on it, and I know Matty and Sud, they had their own guess the rating games with Metacritic.
Yeah, well, we might as well get that out of the way.
Well, just get out of the way.
Because come on. Because there was apparently no way it was going to be under 70.
No.
You know, if you go back in the Checkpoint Reach podcast archives, you can hear that for yourself. And I've got your check as well in the post, Sud, for 50 quid, so I appreciate that.
Yeah.
What did it land on again?
It's currently 60. On a 60, isn't it? Yeah. Currently. So we'll see if it...
Even Terry Cruz's biceps couldn't save it from destruction.
It is disappointing, though, isn't it? You know, I mean, we've both played the game. I mean, I want to hear your opinion first before I talk about mine. So you go first.
It's just extremely simplistic, and I know that was what made the original Crackdown fun, but it's 2019, and it just feels barren, boring. There's nothing to do. It's the typical mediocre game, and I knew this was coming. This is why I was so confident it was going to score less than 70. Ever since that video with Major Nelson, where he went through a bit of the single player, and obviously he's a shill, but even he looked depressed playing the game. I was like, that's when you know things are going bad. And he was literally just walking in the street and cars started floating. The physics was just completely and utterly broken. It's a shame because it had potential, especially the multiplayer component.
It had Terry Crews.
Terry Crews was only put in it later on. Like, he was only ever a part of the marketing probably like 4-5 months from launch. Is when he started. Well, it was E3, wasn't it? Yeah. That's what his last E3. That's when he, appeared in his little full motion video trailer or whatever. But yeah, I don't know what Terry Crews has got to do with the game. He's just an agent that you can pick. Like, that's it.
He says the odd thing, doesn't he, when you go around? But he doesn't really have much to do with it, really. You know. I
mean, you could have got anyone in doing that role. You could have got The Rock. You could have got anybody.
There's a scene, isn't there, at the start of the game, like a 20-30 second cutscene where he's in it, and then you never see a cutscene again, pretty much, the rest of the game, I don't think. So, so basically, I mean, it's a hard one to say because there is, it's hard to put a slightly more positive spin on it. There's definitely some enjoyment to be had out of the game in short spurts.
How long does that last?
Well, this is the problem. It is in short spurts. If you play the game for 40, 45-minute spurts, you'll probably enjoy it quite a bit because you don't need to worry about anything else, really. But it's one of them games, you know, you play for the first 2 or 3 hours and you think, actually, this isn't too bad. You know, it's quite fun collecting the orbs. It reminds me of the first Crackdown in that way. You know, it's fun taking out enemies with, you know, these daft explosive weapons and, you know, over-the-top weapons, things like that. There is some fun to be had, but once you get to the 3rd or 4th same monorail station or same, gas station that you have to blow up or whatever, you're thinking, I've done this before, I'm going to the same thing again, and it's just repetitive, and it's disappointing. I mean, I know even you go back to the first Crackdown, and you know, there's obviously repetitive elements of that, but it doesn't have the same spirit as the first Crackdown. I think that's what, you know, the first Crackdown had spirit about it. and it had, for its time, ambition. And this game, there's no ambition with this game. Yeah, it's a fun game in spurts. People, I'm sure, will have fun with it. I've had a bit of fun with it, but it's the sort of game where you think, I hate to say this, but a better developer could have done so much more with this. And, Sumo Digital don't have their most amazing track record with games in the past. They've made average sort of games, and this is another average sort of game, really. But
well, I did want to ask you quickly.
Yeah.
We had a guest on the show for the New Year podcast, Ted. If you're listening,
Ted.
Ted, if you're listening, they don't like Crackdown 3, but I want to get what your message would be to Ted. Would it be to avoid it because this was his most anticipated game of 2019, I believe?
No, I wouldn't say avoid it, because for a start, if you can get it for, I think there's a deal at the minute getting 2 months of Game Pass for £2, so you've got nothing to lose, really.
Yeah, if he's using, if he's getting Game Pass, it's a no-brainer.
Why not? It's a
but
no-brainer.
if he's thinking of spending 50
I wouldn't
quid
pay
on
for
it,
it, no.
God
Definitely
no,
not.
don't
Definitely
pay 50
don't pay
quid for it. It'll be in the bargain bin for a tenner in 2 months.
I do actually think, though, the type of gamer Ted is, I think he'll actually enjoy this. I think he will find some enjoyment in this game. He really enjoyed the first Crackdown.
Yeah, he plays in shorter spurts, doesn't he?
I think he'll find some enjoyment out of it, but I definitely wouldn't recommend buying it. I just want to make one point. I don't think you've played the multiplayer component, have you, Matty? Oh dear, I don't start it. It's
why not?
I played 2 games and I'm never touching that multiplayer again. It's absolutely horrific. The lag is unbearable. The load times are absolutely terrible. It's the gunplay. Like the gunplay is actually not bad in the single player, but in the multiplayer, it's terrible. It just does not work at all. The destruction is nowhere near as good as people, as they advertised it was going to be. I think the Wrecking Zone's an absolute train wreck. I really do. As bad as people think the campaign is, nothing compared to the multiplayer component. That multiplayer component is god awful. It really is. I deleted the game. I played 2 games and I was like, I'm never playing this again.
There's a glowing review for Crackdown 3 by.
If you're gonna play Crackdown, do not bother with the Wrecking Zone. Just stick to the campaign, because at least there's a little bit of fun to be had.
Just don't bother in general. Just get Metro Exodus.
That's obviously something.
Apex for free. Yeah. Don't bother with Terry Crews's Wrecking Zone. Just bin it off. It's crap.
Well, come on to Metro in just a second. Just one final thought on Crackdown. I think what's disappointing is that Microsoft, how long has this game been delayed for? It was announced in 2014, and it was supposed. Well, it might have been earlier than that, and it was supposed to come out in 2015 or 16, and it's just
We've
so
had this
disappointing.
discussion off air loads of times where I was convinced the game was going to be cancelled.
Yeah,
and I think they should have just done it. To be honest, it's just a waste of time releasing it. It ticks a box. Oh look, it's another Crackdown game, but it's one of them things where it's like. It's embarrassing for the brand when you're releasing mediocre crap like that, especially considering how long it's been hyped up for.
It hurts the franchise, doesn't it, in the long term?
It's a game. If it came out 7 or 8 years ago, it would have got higher scores and people would have been like, this is actually quite good. But we're talking 2019 now, and this is a game that exists probably in 2011, 12, and that's the main problem I see with the game.
Well,
personally.
I know I'm not going to try it. I wasn't going to try it anyway, but after your glowing reviews, I'm staying well away. How about you, Perks? Will you be trying it?
It's highly unlikely. You guys just beat me to the punch there with the end sort of few sentences. It's a game that's been delayed for so long. It was inevitably going to score badly. It was inevitably going to play reasonably badly. It's something that should have seen the light of day maybe in 2016 at the latest. And 3 years on from then, no one really cares. And you could argue if they even cared in the first place. So I'm going to steer clear.
I'd actually argue, Perks, 2016 even would have been too late. I think you're talking...
You could hear the hesitation there. I was pushing it with 2016.
You're talking maybe 2012, 2013, a late last-gen game, because that's probably what it should have been. And one final thing I will say on it, if you want an experience where you don't have to think, and you just, you want a game where you don't have to think about anything, or you just want a bit of fun, you can maybe go on a party and chat with your friends and mindlessly kill enemies and collect orbs. It's fine for that. But if you're going into it thinking, I can't wait to be invested in the story, don't bother, because you're not going to find much there.
Well, it definitely seems to have missed the mark, and its physical sales in the UK are down 10% from Crackdown 2, selling around 4,000 copies.
Actually, it's even worse than that. It's sold 10% of what Crackdown 2 did.
Oh, it
in
was
its first
sold
week.
10%.
Yeah.
Oh, I read
Yeah,
it as down.
that's
Oh, I was
no,
trying to
it's
give it a
actually,
positive spin.
it's sold only 10% physically. Okay, obviously digital is much bigger than it used to be when Crackdown 2 came out, so that probably makes up a little bit of the gap. But even so, that's disastrous. And
That is
I mean, like
horrific.
you
We'll go
guys
on,
said
you know.
already, the majority of
Yeah.
people trying this will be trying it on Game Pass.
Yeah.
I really
Yeah.
hope that's the case anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
So that's a bad future president, really. Sorry, Eldon, to interrupt. But, it's one of them things where we've said, we spoke about Game Pass numerous times. How quickly is it going to kill off physical games? Well, Microsoft's physical games anyway, extremely quickly by the looks of stuff like this. Like, you see weird figures, like quite a lot of people still bought Forza Horizon 4, even though it was on Game Pass. But I think once people start realizing every Microsoft game is on Game Pass and people actually start realizing it, like it becomes, mainstream knowledge, the physical sales of Microsoft games are just going to be non-existent for every single game. And that's going to happen very, very quickly.
Well, I'd say maybe bar Gears 5 and the next Halo. They'll probably still do pretty well physically, and maybe the next Forza Horizon. But apart from that, yeah, you're right. But
4,000 in the UK.
Yeah,
that's absolutely abysmal.
It's really abysmal.
It's so bad.
With digital, it'll be a bit more than that, but even so, you're looking at max 8 to 10,000 max, and that's still terrible.
Hey, Coventry City get higher attendance than that.
Only just.
Yeah, for context, Perks is a Coventry City fan, so send your sympathy to @ChetReachPod. But to be fair, like Matty said, once people do start, learning more about Game Pass and becoming aware of it more, they're gonna probably go use that more. So it just makes sense. It's a lot cheaper in the long run. Anyway, looking at the top 10 sales chart for the UK last week, there was Crackdown 3 came 13th on the list, and the first two was number 1 was Far Cry New Dawn, and number two was Metro Exodus. A couple of games that we wanted to touch on. I know, Sud, that you've played a bit of Metro. What are your thoughts on it?
I've played about 4 or 5 hours of it. Just to point out, first of all, with the sales of the game, even though people might think second hasn't done great, it has actually sold 50% more than Metro Last Light. So that's a good positive. And that's just physically as well. So with digital, it's probably done way better. So that's a good positive for the game, just to start out. So I'm glad it's done well, because it's a single-player only game. And, with this podcast, we like to support our single-player only games, I'd like to think. So Definitely. That's a positive. I think I played about 4 or 5 hours, so I can't give a definitive review or anything like that. But I'll start with the positives. I think the game looks absolutely incredible. I mean, there's definitely the best looking game I've seen on console. Even more than Red Dead Redemption 2, which looks great, but this game looks phenomenal. It really does. The lighting effects as well. The lighting effects, the weather effects, absolutely tremendous. They've done an amazing job in that aspect. The atmosphere is still there from the previous 2 games. If you're familiar with the previous 2 games, there's not much different. The atmosphere is great. With this one, though, because it's more open, what's great is there is definitely a feeling of survive, like you have to survive. And the survival element's really good in the game. It makes you feel like, I have to think about what I'm going to do, with this next set of enemies or the next group, next group of bad guys. I'm enjoying it. There is a couple of negatives though. The gunplay isn't the best. A lot of reviews have said this as well. They've never really managed to be able to nail it with Metro, the gunplay. That's one aspect they've never really nailed. It's never felt great to play in terms of, the guns feel a little bit pea-shootery sometimes, which is a bit disappointing. So that's one bad aspect. Also, the game occasionally I've had 2 freezes. The game's froze on me twice in the 5 hours that I've played, which is slightly annoying. Luckily, the game does auto-save very regularly, so it's not too bad. The load times as well can be painfully slow, like very slow, even on the Xbox One X. Sometimes it can take 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes to load back into a game.
But you're enjoying it overall, aren't you?
But overall, yeah, it's a really good game. And I know, Matty, you were obviously sort of thinking about getting it at some point, and I definitely would recommend it. I think you'll enjoy it. Obviously, only 4 or 5 hours in, so I don't know what the game's supposed to be around 25 hours long. So I don't know the rest of the game or anything, but the bit I'm at, I'm enjoying. So it seems like it's going to be really solid. So
Have you been outdoors much in it yet, or is it all indoors?
well, actually, I've been mainly outdoors. Yeah,
That's what I was about to ask, because the main thing that annoyed me about 2033 and Last Light was having to change your bloody gas filters every 5 minutes.
Yeah. There is still that element to the game. Obviously, if you go in like a place where there's loads of gas and stuff like that, you do have to change the filters. But it definitely doesn't feel as. It's definitely more open. There is sections where you kind of especially right near the start, it's quite linear. Like the first maybe half an hour of the game is linear, but then it opens up quite quickly. And the bit I'm in now is kind of a hub area. It's I'm trying to think of a game it's similar. Maybe like a Deus Ex type hub area, similar in sort of size, things like that. Not absolutely huge, but big enough to be fun.
Is this going to be a game you're going to purchase, Matt?
I probably will. I might wait till it goes down a little bit. Just depends on whether I'm feeling it at the time. I have a feeling, I feel like I'm going to be saying this about every single game that comes out. I have a feeling in like 8 months' time it'll be on Game Pass, because that seems to be a common trend. Because Shadow of the Tomb Raider's on Game Pass already, and that was another Microsoft. Because this one, Metro, is bundled with Xbox One X's, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's like,
at the moment,
it's like a digital download inside the box, and it seems to be a common trend that any of these sort of games like Shadow of the Tomb Raider and Metro, the ones that basically align themselves with Microsoft, end up on Game Pass about 8 months later. So, it's obviously not guaranteed that it'll be on Game Pass, but it's one that I could really see being on there.
The one disappointment I have is, though, how they were bigging up the game, being Xbox One X enhanced, stuff like that. They've really pushed it on Microsoft's side, and don't get me wrong, the game looks absolutely incredible on the X, but it does annoy me a little bit that apparently the PS4 performance is actually slightly better in terms of technical performance, which kind of does annoy me a little bit. Apparently some of these issues with long loads at times are actually worse on the Xbox, which is quite strange. And some of the freezing glitches don't seem to have happened on the PS4 Pro, so that's a bit disappointing. But overall, the game performs from a technical point of view and graphical point of view fantastically on the X.
I mean, I'm getting a bit of a backlog, with being in Japan for 2 weeks, drawing octopuses. I haven't played Kingdom Hearts, I haven't played Resident Evil, I haven't played Metro, so I don't know which one I'm going to choose out of those first, to be honest with you. Probably whichever one goes cheapest first.
Well, Resident Evil 2's, a great game, but I'll attest to as well. That's definitely...
Yeah, I've just never been that big into survival horror. No. I think my favourite one's Resident Evil 4, and then probably Dead Space.
Well, I would say, though, this feels a lot more like 4, and I don't know if you agree with that person in a way that there's definitely elements of 4 in 2, which I think Matty might appreciate.
Definitely. There's 4 and kind of, I think we talked about Revelations as well.
I'd even say Resident Evil 7 slightly as well. There's little elements of that in there. Not in terms of
they brought in the mannequins, didn't they?
Yeah.
So that's a nice touch. So Resident Evil 2 is good. Well, I say it's good. It's amazing. It's a really great experience, but it's fast and it is over quickly.
It's a short experience, yeah.
And even though, just like you guys, I do champion the single player games, it shouldn't be as expensive as it is, in my opinion, just because you can get through it extremely quickly, and I don't think it's worthy of the price tag that it's launched with. So
maybe not. It depends what sort of game you are, though. I think a lot of people... I personally don't regret spending £40 on it, because I've enjoyed it a lot. And I think there is a lot of replayability if you're that sort of gamer that likes to do speed runs and doing it on the hardest difficulty. Depends what sort of game you are. If you're a gamer that just likes to get the game done once and through, then yeah, I would agree that, maybe spend £25 on it or £30 on it. One thing I'd say about Metro, though, is I'd say that's definitely, so far from what I tell, the game retails at £40. I think it's worth that from a production value standpoint so far.
Is that going to be a game you're going to try, Perks? Metro seems like a game that should suit your taste.
Yeah, do you know what? Metro's the strange one for me. It has been for years, since the first one, since Last Light. It's got everything that should appeal to me. It's a bit sort of dark and dingy. It's okay. It's not a survival horror, but the survival aspects, and it does have some horror aspects as well. It just doesn't tick the boxes for me, though. Apart from that, it's strange. It's like if I was reading it on the back of the box, throwback to the old days when we were kids, and that's where we got our knowledge from, I would have been buying it day one. But having played 2033 and Last Light quite extensively, I didn't really enjoy them, and I felt like I was going through it just because I'd got the game and I wanted to get through it before getting rid of it. I might give Exodus a try. If I do, it's not going to be anytime soon. It will be when the game is free on Game Pass, or
a
when
lot
it's
cheaper.
Yeah, maybe about £10 or £15.
Hmm.
I don't look. I'm not even going to sit here and say that I think it will be a bad game or I think that it's a bad series, because I don't feel that way. It's weird. It's hard to explain. It's one of those things that surely has everything that you want, but when you actually play it, it doesn't quite come off for me. And I do think I'm in the minority when I say that, but there's
be
something
fair,
about
though,
Metro that hasn't appealed to me over the years.
it sounds like a sort of game that if you got on the cheap, it could be a really fun experience for you to play.
Yeah, I'd go along with that. I think maybe the price point does come into play. If you're buying it on day one, then perhaps you'd be more disappointed than if you were buying it further down the line. I guess, look, it's completely a personal preference
isn't
thing,
it?
but
Yeah.
I don't know. Metro for me, it's a no biggie. I'm not a massive fan of the series in general.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I wanna. Sorry, Sud. I wanna move it on from Metro.
Yeah, that's fine.
I want to talk to you guys about Far Cry New Dawn, because that's a
Yeah.
game that me and Sud really enjoyed. Did you get around to playing it, Perks and Matty? I'm not too sure. I know me and Sud loved it.
Far Cry
I only
5.
got- I
Yeah,
only
Far
got
Cry
through
5.
about half of Far Cry 5. I just found it exactly like every other Far Cry that's existed. Rinse
I'm
and
with
repeat
Matty.
That's
formula.
probably a good point, but
And
um,
I imagine New Dawn's exactly the same. Slightly disappointed that it's above Metro in the chart, but obviously to be expected because it's Far Cry. People buy it all the time. It's a big name that does consistently well sales-wise.
So it's a game you're not going to try.
I might further down the line, but I haven't even finished 5 yet, so I'd have to finish
think,
that first.
yeah, I really enjoyed Far Cry 5. It was probably one of my favourite games of last year, behind, obviously, it was behind sort of God of War and Spider-Man and Red Dead, but it was in the category below them games. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the setting, I think, more than... the gameplay's fine. The gameplay, Matty's right, it pretty much plays exactly like Far Cry 3 and Far Cry 4, which is fine, because I think the gameplay's good in those games. It wasn't revolutionary, but I enjoyed the setting, I enjoyed the story, characters were really cool. So it seems, from what I've seen of reviews of Far Cry New Dawn, is pretty much more of the same. If you like Far Cry 5, you're going to like Far Cry New Dawn, pretty much. So it's even the same map, isn't it? Obviously with some differences.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm looking forward to playing it at some point. It's just, obviously, with so many games coming out, it's like, obviously, I've had Metro and Crackdown and Anthem next week. It might take me a few more weeks, maybe into March, April, to get my hands on it, but I'm looking forward to getting my hands on it at some point.
Yeah, well, like I said at the start, me and you enjoyed Far Cry 5, so I feel like we should.
I think we'd enjoy this
We'll
one.
try it, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
How about you, Perks? Is it something you're going to try, or are you going to skip this one?
I'm more likely to try it than I am Metro. I'll say that. I do completely agree with Matt's sentiments before. Far Cry is Far Cry, and I don't feel too much variety in what they bring to the table. Narrative aside, obviously, story changes, but I think I'll probably get around to it. It won't be soon. I want to commit a lot of my time into Anthem, whether that's a stupid decision or not.
Did
Time will
you-
tell.
Did you play 5, Perse? I can't remember.
I haven't completed 5,
No.
so
I think you definitely need to do that one first, I would say.
well, I actually don't need to do it myself because I've been in conversations with you guys, so I know
No, you kind of know.
exactly what can or can't happen at the end
Fair
of
enough.
5. So, but look, I mean, back when it first broke that New Dawn was going to be a thing, I said it does look quite interesting, even though it's more of the same. They had a few different aspects that I was interested in, and I'm still interested in the death races and seeing what that's all about. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I think
I'll definitely give it a shot at some point.
it's interesting, though, isn't it? Because there's a game coming out in May, Rage 2, which definitely probably piques my interest more than this, because it's pretty much this, but on a grander scale, by the looks of it.
I was a big fan of
that
Rage
looks
1
more
as
like-
well, by the way.
Yeah, and it looks more like I don't think any of you's played it, but Mad Max, a game that came out about 3 years ago. There's definitely
Didn't play
elements
it.
of that game they've put in it.
Well, it's the
and-
same developer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And Mad Max was an interesting game because some people really liked it and some people didn't. So it was kind of a bit of a divisive game. I played it and I quite enjoyed it, actually, what I played. So Rage 2 is obviously a game in the future that I guess we're all kind of looking forward to. But just going back to Far Cry, yeah, I think it's interesting what they're doing with Far Cry, isn't it, with this spin-off? They've done spin-offs before, but not to this scale where it's a direct sequel. So interesting to see how that works in terms of the story.
Yeah, it definitely will be, and it's something that I'll try in the upcoming months, I'm sure. Moving on to the next topic, and yeah, it's quite a surprising one, I guess. Tetris 99, that's out, and it's a battle royale.
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
Yeah, well, it came out of the latest Nintendo Direct, didn't it? I think that was a few days ago. Yeah, Tetris 99 on the Switch. So apparently, from what I've heard, it's actually pretty good. But I've got to be honest.
Is it taking the piss? There's so many of these.
We've all played Tetris, haven't we? We know what Tetris is. We've all played it. It's iconic, but it's Tetris at the end of the day. It's just Tetris. I mean, what really can it... and it's interesting they've done this. It's an interesting idea, making it a battle royale, and I guess it works.
What do you mean it's a battle? Sorry to interrupt. I've been completely bamboozled by this. I didn't even know this game existed.
Yeah.
All I'm imagining is L blocks running and PUBG style and hiding behind walls and shooting.
I think it's more in terms of the first person to make a mistake gets
eliminated. Is it just collaborative?
Yeah, a collaborative thing where the best player at the game will win. Overall. It'll get harder and harder, and the best player wins. Whoever's the best at Tetris, basically. It's apparently the game
seems like it'd be pretty boring for number 49, just waiting for everyone to drop out.
Maybe, but I don't know exactly how it works.
You'd be there for an hour.
But apparently the game's pretty good, and people are enjoying it. So, I mean,
yeah.
Well, if it ever comes to Xbox, we'll have to play it.
Yeah, I don't know if I would play it, to be honest. I think Tetris is Tetris. I mean, whatever. We've all played it before.
I mean, it looks kind of interesting. Just on bringing a new lease of life to Tetris. I mean,
it's an interesting idea.
Well, you've already had Tetris Effect, which is the VR one, which was well received.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say, though, I much prefer Matty's idea of Tetris L blocks running around like PUBG style.
Yeah, that'd be pretty fun.
Yeah, that would be good. I'd play that.
I'd enjoy that. I'd probably play that as well.
I want to see all those L's jumping down to Pachinki. That's what I'm thinking.
It's odd to think about.
But look, why not? Basically, that's what I would say about that. Bottom line is why not? It looks
one thing I take from it though is that it's interesting that it's going to expand this battle royale idea. I'm surprised there hasn't been already a sort of racing game battle royale. I'm waiting for that to happen. I think that there's going to be one at some point because surely it makes sense, like a battle royale with cars. That could
would
be a
make
thing,
sense.
Right?
Yeah, every lap someone drops off.
Maybe they'll try and revive Twisted Metal by making it a battle.
Yeah, I mean I think you're right. That could work. There's obviously there's going to be a new Need for Speed game this year. I think at the end of the year. I wonder if that's going to have some sort of weird battle royale thing in it.
I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure GTA 5 online races had a similar thing. It might have been a bomb though on the car, and if you're in last place, you blow up, and then obviously you're out the race.
Yeah,
I think GTA would really suit battle royale.
I think so.
Yeah. Because obviously you've got the vehicle element of it. You could have the police chasing you as well while you're trying to survive and getting into the circle.
Is there not already some sort of... Is there not, if I'm not mistaken, have they not shoehorned in some sort of battle royale mode into GTA 5?
No.
Have they not? Online? No. I could have sworn I saw something.
I mean, there's probably some sort of survival mode or something. I haven't played GTA 5 online for a long time. But there's no actual the typical battle royale rip-off with the the ring in the circle.
Did anyone actually ever get to the Red Dead Redemption 2 battle royale? Because that's apparently out. I don't know if it did any well. I don't think it was well received, was it?
The gunplay's just not good enough for me.
No, I don't think it's good enough for a battle royale.
I mean, what me, you, and Eldon seriously tried to play that game, and we were just running around pissing about. And me and Eldon jumped off a horse at exactly the same time. That was the most entertainment we got.
I think Red Dead is best in its single player mode. To be honest, I think the online. Yeah, I'm sure some people find enjoyment out of it, but I think I'd rather just have the single player element of it.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Well, we'll move on to our last two topics, which will focus more on movie news. But before we do, Perks, it's your time to go, unfortunately. You have to leave us for a bit, for this podcast anyway.
Yeah, brings my time to an end in hopefully more ways than one. It's been a pleasure as always, and I look forward to joining you guys next week where we'll talk more about Anthem, I'm sure.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah, we really will.
All
Right, man. Have a good
Enjoy,
one.
guys.
Well, yeah, moving on to our movie news. Just looking at that, Star Wars episode 9 has wrapped up filming, and it's wrapped up without a title. What do we think of this? Are we more excited or less excited than we were a month ago when we discussed this?
I just don't really care, to be honest. And so I just honestly, that's my feelings on Star Wars at the minute.
Star Wars
Wars
Episode
news.
9, The Excruciating Disappointment.
It may as well be called. I'm getting a bit, I'm just Star Wars in general. I mean, I'm getting a bit bored of it. Just bored of even talking about it, really, in a way, because it's just whatever.
Well, no, we've discussed it before, haven't we? We have discussed Star Wars before. We're obviously all big Star Wars fans. We all thought Episode 8 was an abomination. Yep. Obviously, they've had a change of director for this film because of quote-unquote creative differences. They've got J.J. Abrams back, and I don't have a clue how he can make this film anywhere near good, to be honest, given what he's been left with after Episode 8. I don't know how they can claw it out of the mud, to be honest with you, and I don't think he'll be able to.
I agree. I think he'll try his best.
Difficult.
He'll probably try his best, and my prediction is that I think it'll be a better film than 8. I do think it'll be a better film than 8. I mean, it can't really be much worse, can it? To be fair. So we've got that.
All I want,
so it'll be better than 8.
Honestly, mate, all I want is Finn to wake up out of the little cryopod and just be like, "Oh, it's all a dream."
That would be great. I'd love that. That'd actually make it probably my favourite film of all time if they did that.
Favourite film of all time.
If they did that, yeah, definitely. Because I'd be like, oh, thank God, Episode 8's been wiped.
Yeah, but it could go into Episode 9. It could be worse than 8. Oh, it's all a dream, but then the film carries on.
The only positive I have about this film, is I am literally going to be going into that movie theatre with the lowest expectations I've ever had for a film, ever. So even if it's like acceptable, it'll be a success in my eyes because I'm literally going into that film expecting it to be the worst film ever. So that's the mentality I'm going to have going in, and hopefully I won't be too disappointed. That's all I can say about it, really.
I think I'm going to be the same as you. My expectations will be low, but I'm still going to be disappointed if it's a bad film because it's Star Wars. It's too many of the Star Wars films are in the bad category now, and it's getting to the point where you just draw the line and be like, okay, it's not as enjoyable anymore. That's it.
So what are we thinking this is going to be called anyway? Because obviously it's going to have a name, isn't it? We don't know what it is yet. What do we think it's going to be called? Any ideas? Maybe but instead of A New Hope, The Last Hope.
So we had obviously
No
Force Awakens, Last Jedi. What I mean, the Rise of the Jedi Order, Rise of a New Jedi Order, or something like that. Rise of the Jedi.
Well,
I don't know.
Star Wars No Hope. That's what it's going to be called.
That's could be called.
Star Wars. Don't come and watch this film.
I actually like the one I just said, Star Wars: The Last Hope, because that'd be fitting for not only the film, but
can you have another last?
Our expectations.
They've had the Last Jedi. Can you use another last?
No, they're probably not going to go with that. I'm kind of jesting a little bit, but I don't know what they're going to go with. I don't know if it matters, to be honest, at this stage, but I'll just have to wait and see. It even gets me annoyed talking about Star Wars now because it makes me think back to Episode 8 every time, and it just angers me because of how much I hated that film.
I'm proud of myself. I watched that film once, knew it was atrocious, and haven't watched it again since.
No, I refuse to watch that film.
I've watched it.
I don't want to watch
it
ever again. I don't want to watch it. And did it improve?
Not really. It was just. I just thought it was a bad film. Didn't enjoy it that much.
I mean,
like I said, it's Star Wars, and
you guys,
unfortunately, I have to watch it.
You guys said that Solo was decent, so I suppose that's a good step in the right direction.
Solo's a meh film.
Yeah,
it's not a bad film, and it's not a good film.
Yeah.
Well, did you guys?
I probably wouldn't describe it as decent. More like mediocre.
Did you guys see that they'd canned the next one because of how bad Solo did?
Yeah.
Next spin-off. Yeah.
Good. No one
People think-
wanted a Solo
No.
spin-off. People are
Well,
asking
people
for
think they,
Boba Fett or Obi-Wan, so why give him
Well, people
Solo?
think, don't they, that the next spin this might be disappointing news because the next spin-off was going to be maybe an Obi-Wan Kenobi, which might have actually been good.
Yeah, but you know what?
So
It's just like stupid way of thinking about it. Right, Episode 8, people didn't receive it very well. Okay, we're doing a spin-off film. What should we give them? We'll give them Solo. Wait, but they're asking for Obi-Wan. You know, maybe we
Yeah,
should
it's a
make them a
strange
bit
one.
happy. No, we'll go with Solo.
see, I've seen some people saying, "Oh, they shouldn't bother with spin-offs." Yeah, but I disagree completely because we wouldn't have got Rogue One then, and Rogue One was really good.
Yeah, I like Rogue
And
One.
I'm glad that was, I'm glad Rogue One is a thing that exists because I think we can all pretty much agree it's probably got the best scene maybe ever in Star Wars in it as well,
Yeah, the Vader scene.
as far
is
as I'm
pretty cool.
concerned. So it was worth it just for that.
It was.
So
And Darth Vader only lives down the road from us. The guy who was in the suit that
yeah,
time.
well there you go, exactly. So
There we
Yeah.
are.
so.
I'm not giving him another shout out. He thinks he's a local celebrity in Prestine anyway, the big clown.
Well, to be fair, he
Well, let's
is.
hope he doesn't listen to this podcast.
Well, he came into the shop once asking for discount. It's like, who do you think you are, mate? Honestly.
Well, I doubt he'll listen to this podcast, but if he does,
Well, I hope he does, to be honest. He thinks he's a celebrity because he wore a suit. Well done.
There we go.
there we go.
So
Well,
that's Matty's impression.
that is Matty's opinion of that. So anyway, we'll move on to the last part. Something you wanted to touch on, Sud. Apparently,
Yeah.
There's been rumours or leaks or something to do with the Lord of the Rings potential show,
Mm.
a TV show.
Yeah, well, it's just more rumours about more I think it was photos that were leaked or something like that. I think, but I just generally wanted to talk about what you guys think of a Lord of the Rings TV series because apparently it's a thing that's going to be happening. So
Just leave Lord of the Rings alone.
yeah, I'm with Matt on this one.
The films are so
Gotta say.
perfect. The films are so perfect.
Yeah.
And I just think it's one of them things where it was so obvious. It was obvious eventually they're going to start trying to milk that cash cow again.
Yeah.
Mm.
I wish they would have just left it alone forever.
See, do you know what space I would like to see them explore Lord of the Rings more in gaming? I think gaming is the perfect place to explore more Lord of the Rings. I think there's so
a
much
lot of the
potential
Lord of the
in that.
Rings games have been flops, though.
I mean, I would say Shadow of Mordor did pretty well, to be fair.
Third Age
We didn't
was
like
good.
it, but it did. Oh, the Third Age.
Back on
I
PS2.
love that game so much. I really would love them to do another sort of RPG like that for Lord of the Rings. But there's so much lore. Tolkien's lore is so huge. They could do so much, I think. With a proper RPG or something like that. But I think I'm with Matty. Lord of the Rings, the trilogy is my favourite. They're my favourite films of all time. And I don't want to see them get wrecked.
Here's
or
a
ruined.
question for you. Do you think in our
So it's-
lifetime we're going to see the Lord of the Rings trilogy redone?
Yeah, I do.
I feel
I
like we
think they
will.
will try and redo them. And
I feel
don't
like
want
the
them to.
special effects are so good that what's the point?
True,
that
because
still
you
holds
watch
up
them
now.
films now and they still hold up. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
It's because
They
a lot
still
of
hold
it
up
was
today.
practical effects, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Which obviously
But-
makes a big difference.
I think we'll see not only Lord of the Rings being remade in our lifetime. I think we'll see the original Star Wars being remade as well
Do you
in our
think?
lifetime. Yeah, I do.
Ooh.
I do. I think that's a cash cow Disney will not pass up. They definitely won't. Can you imagine how much money's in that? There'd be so much money in the originals getting remade.
The only
I
thing,
think
though,
so.
that makes me think they wouldn't do it now is after seeing Solo, because obviously they use a different Han Solo.
Yeah.
They'd have to use a
Maybe,
different
but-
Luke, a different Leia,
They would, but
Obi-Wan.
you've got to admit there's a lot of cash there.
Actually, they
That
did
could
use
be-
a different
there's a
Obi-Wan,
lot
I
of-
guess. With you.
I don't
A lot
know,
of
you know,
people would
so
go and watch
I
them.
probably wouldn't watch them.
Well, we wouldn't, maybe, but I think there'd be people out there that would.
Oh, mate, I'd watch it. You'd have to. It'd be
I
like,
think,
I'd
yeah, a
be
lot
too
of people watch out of
intrigued.
interest, so
I'd have to see it, and then
It's-
if New Hope was bad, a redo, I'd be like, oh my
Yeah.
god, what are they doing?
But just going back to Lord of the Rings, I think it'd be interesting to see how they do the TV series in terms of, is it going to be like a Daredevil style TV series where they go a bit darker with Lord of the Rings? Because that might be interesting if they do that. But do you know what? I don't mind if they do Lord of the Rings and it's nothing to but it's nothing to do with the trilogy. It's like miles in the past or something. Then I might find it acceptable. But if they start treading on, the lore of the trilogy and messing around with it, I won't accept that. That's when it'll be like a no-go area for me.
Yeah. It's like
Something in the
sacred
past might be
grounds, that.
interesting. Something far, far in the past might be interesting, But yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure.
I think
just
it's going to
seems-
be a really weird one because I think the TV series, going back to the special effects, is going to look worse than the films.
Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah,
Even though it's years and years and years into the future.
Yeah,
I feel
Could
like
be.
they're not going to have a budget to make effect anywhere near as good as Lord of the Rings,
yeah,
the original
it's a
trilogy.
good point. That. It's
Yeah.
a good point.
That is a good point, and it's definitely something we'll look forward to seeing once it comes out. However, we're going to end the show there. So thanks for joining me, guys, as ever.
No, it's been good.
Where can people find you on social media, Sud?
You can just find me on Twitter at David10Spud.
Brilliant. Where can people find you, Matt?
Matty Cheatham on Instagram and Twitter.
That's great. Perks, who was with us on the show before, if you want to, speak to him on Twitter, it will be at JGPerks. I'm also on Twitter and Instagram at Leld, LEL3Ds, add a 9 on the end for Instagram. And Checkpoint Reach social medias are Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at CheckReachPod. We're also on YouTube at Checkpoint Reach Podcast. If you're listening to us on YouTube, give us a like, give us a share, give us a subscribe, because that'll help the channel to grow. And we hope you enjoyed listening to this episode. Thanks for joining us, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.